Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Time Spiral Remastered draft. Now, I used to draft Time Spiral when it would come back on flashbacks. However, it's been a long time, and I don't really remember what is good. Living End, I'm not actually sure I can make Living End work in a limited deck. There's a lot of madness in black, so we might actually be able to do that. That could be fun. Otherwise, there's like an Assassinate, which is a decent card. There's Grinning Ignis if I want to try and force Storm. Storm is technically an archetype. It is very difficult to play. Yeah, I'll take Living End and we'll see what happens. I have no idea how to draft this format, so let's see. We got Hedron Archive, which is ramp. There's a Deep Cavern Imp. Black-White Rebels is a thing. So Deep Cavern Imp is a Windrake that forces us to discard. So that does synergize with Living End. It does synergize with Madness. There's Strangling Soot. Oh, there's also 5-color slivers in this format, I should mention. That is actually a thing. I think we're going to take... I have no idea what to take. I'm going to take Krovax, and maybe we'll start doing, like, Rebel aggro. Because I really don't know if I can get Living End to work. I'm going to try and do a couple of drafts of Time Spiral Remastered, and this is going to be indicative of what we can actually accomplish. So Pulmonic Sliver. All slivers you control have flying. All slivers have if this creature would be put onto a graveyard, you may put it on top of its owner's library instead. So I can take a Rebel, or I can take Terramorphic Expanse. I think I'm going to take the Rebel. Imperiosaur. Let's see. I could take Mana Tithe and troll people. That sounds really fun. Man, slivers, this seems to be a lot of slivers, so maybe we'll try slivers next time. Because that's gotta be fun, right? Looter Eelcore is aggressive. Does help us get through our deck. Black-White is, though, kind of what I'm going for here. Yeah, alright, we'll take Looter Eelcore. The card just seems good. Mind Stab seems way too slow. Knight of Circe is something we can do on turn 1, which this is good. I've got a feeling. And so one of the things that I have difficulty with this format is a lot of the cards are like power leveled like older creatures were. So it's like some of the cards are really hard to judge power level. And a lot of the cards are incredibly text heavy, we'll call it. So I think I'm going to take Knight of Circe here. Dusk Rider Peregrine, Corpulent Corpse, another Mana Tithe, Sangrophage, Greater Gargadon. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Suspend creature. If nothing else, this deck will be interesting. Even if it's not good. Urza's Factory. Banalish Cavalry. Banalish Cavalry has flanking. And it's a bear. It's a 2-mana 2-2, which is probably not bad. Yeah, I'm going to take Banalish Cavalry. Another Knight of Circe. Joyra's Time Bug. Jora's Time Bug potentially is good with if we're taking a whole bunch of suspend cards. One thing that I can tell you about this format is red and blue have like 3 different strategies in them. Because I think blue has Madness as well as Morph and Suspend, I think. And red is like Suspend, Storm, and one other thing that I don't remember. Let's see. Grinning Ignis is a card that helps make Storm work. I think I'm going to take Salt Blast. I don't think that card is good, but I might have to take it just for removal's sake. Errant Doomsayers or Errant Doomsayers or Amro Seekers. Both of them are rebels. I think we take the Tapper, just to help us have a little bit of a better curve. As our secondary color, I think I'm going to start picking into black, maybe. Return to Dust can be sideboard. Sangrophage. Like I said, I don't know if we're playing black. That would be an awful lot of life loss. Like, Sangrophage is a 2-mana 3-3, but you pay 2 life every turn. Premature Burial, I think this card is not great. By most standards. Okay, so we have Flicker Wisp in Old Border, Flagstones of Trocaire, which I don't think is playable in this format. Even though I think Boom and Bust is a thing. Minions Murmurs could be good if we get just a whole bunch of creatures. Pit Keeper is great because it helps you recycle creature cards out of the grave, like it's just card advantage. It's kind of like a cheap graph digger, but only in the later stages of the game. Aven Riftwatcher is a very strong creature. It's a 3 mana 2/3. It has vanishing, so it doesn't stick around forever, but it gains you 4 life across its lifespan, and it has flying. I think I'm going to take Flicker Wisp. I don't think we have anything worth flickering immediately, but Flicker Wisp strikes me as very powerful. Ancient Den. They really couldn't pick a stronger white land? Like, for the time spiral cycle? Alright. Porphyry Nodes is strong, but we have a lot of creatures, so I don't think it's good in this deck. Temporal Isolation is an incredible removal spell, because it prevents a creature from blocking anything that doesn't have Shadow, and it prevents all damage done by that creature. And we're not going to have that many creatures with Shadow. Momentary Blink I could take because we have Flicker Wisp, and then I could try and go into like a blue-white kind of flickery value deck. But I think Isolation is going to be the best for us. Coalition Relic is fantastic fixing for anything that we try and play. Dune Rider Outlaw, Human Rebel Rogue, protection from green. If it deals damage to an opponent, get a 1/1 counter on it at the end step. That seems to be good. There's a black tapper, another temporal isolation. I think I'm going to take Coalition Relic because I do have some very expensive cards. And this card is just like, occasionally it's just Worn Power Stone and it's fantastic. Ooh, new art on Angel's Grace. That's cool. I don't think Angel's Grace is limited playable though. Stronghold Rats, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, each player discards a card. That seems strong. I don't know how often it will get in for damage. Grave Scrabbler has Madness. Drifter Ealdal is a very aggressive creature, but we have to constantly pay for it. Man, I don't think Angel's Grace is limited playable. I'm going to take it because I like Angel's Grace, but hey, Tasigur. Tasiger's got to be a strong card. Just having Delve. Let's see, what else are we? What else is in this pack? I can't pronounce this card, but it's not great as far as removal goes. There's another Duskrider Peregrine, another Judge Unworthy, which is an okay removal, especially in this format, because in white, if you have the suspend creatures, you have things with higher CMC. It's just not guaranteed removal is the thing. Gorgon Recluse is a very strong card, but it is very heavy black cost. I think I'm just going to take Tasigur. Coal Stoker is one of those cards that you play in the Storm deck. It's not necessarily good either. Veiling Oddity is a good card in the Suspend deck. I think I take Ickerslick. This is fairly decent removal. It can be cycled, so you can effectively kick it for 3 mana and play it for its Madness cost, get a card out of it, and at instant speed. But it's a lot of mana to do that. It does a lot of other things, though. So I'm going to take Ickerslick, and our second color is probably going to be black, just because we have a decent number of good black cards. Oh, that is a long suspend. Sliversmith turns every extra land we draw that we don't need into a creature. There's another Tapper. There's a Shade of Trocaire, which is a suspend 3/1/2 that we can pump with white mana. I think I take the Tapper. Salt-Crusted Steppe. I don't know if we need storage lands. I'll take it, but I'm going to put all of these cards basically into the sideboard. We do not have that many playable cards, but we have a number of really good cards. I will take Aven Riftwatcher for reasons previously enumerated. I think this card is good. It's also one of those cards that's nice to like Flicker Wisp. I could also take Pit Keeper. Pit Keeper would be reasonable. Blightspeaker. Oh, Blightspeaker is really good because we have several rebels that are 3 mana or less, so we can just tutor out rebels going up the chain. I want to take Blightspeaker. Dune Rider Outlaw is a card we can definitely play. Psychotic Episode is hard to make work. Ah yes, Mind Stab, the exact opposite of Ancestral Visions. I'll take Stronghold Rats, but I don't know if we're playing Stronghold Rats. We'll find out. Gorgon Recluse. Otherwise we take another suspend creature. I'm going to take Judge Unworthy. Shade of Trocaire is fine. Primal Plasma into the sideboard. Epic Experiment. Apparently Summoner's Pact is in this too. I think we're going to take Celestial Crusader. It's a split-second flash card, so it's uncounterable, but it does a whole lot, and we are mostly white creatures. Bound in Silence would not be a bad card to have either. I was looking at Summoner's Pack to see if it was worth anything on Moto. It's worth a ticket. It's not worth it to me. We'll take the Celestial Crusader. There's Sram, Glittering Wish. Amuro Scout is probably the card we take here. We don't have a lot of auras and equipments. We have a couple, like Temporal Isolation, but yeah, I'm going to take Amuro Scout. Rothy Trapper is probably not bad either, but Restore Balance! Oh, I love Restore Balance. Man, why does every Rebel have a tap ability? It just seems OP. Ivory Giant seems fine. Yeah, Restore Balance is not worth anything. It's also very difficult to make work in Limited, I think. I'll take Ivory Giant just because I like having... Even if everything is going to be coming down late, we're going to have the ability to play our stuff off of very little mana, I've got a feeling. Life and Limb, that's fun. Seems like a great way to get all your lands board wiped, though. Could take a Mana Tithe. Could just take an Aven Mind Sensor. Just a 3-mana 2/1 Flash Flyer seems like a decent combat trick, so I'm going to take Aven Mind Sensor. I don't think the search hate stapled onto that creature is actually going to matter, but we'll see. Flagstones. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a Spore counter on it, remove 3. Oh, Strongholderettes has Shadow. Okay, that is potentially stronger than I thought it was going to be. Dead and Gone. I'll take Strongholderettes. Yeah, I'll take another Knight of Circe. I think that card is actually pretty decent. Proliferate. I don't think Proliferate is going to be that good for us. This is really jank removal. I don't think I would be playing Calciform Pools, so I'll put Core Dirge in the sideboard. I think at this point I will take another minion, or I'll take a Minion's Murmurs. I didn't get the first one to come around. At least it seems like there's no shortage of playables for us. Epic Experiment seems like it would be fun to play in the Storm deck. You just like ramp a whole bunch and then Epic Experiment and hope to hit the Storm card. Arcblade and the Associated Cycle are also kind of fun because they come back every 3 turns because they exile themselves. Yeah, I'm gonna put Mycologist in the sideboard. We're not really a Saproling deck. We still only have Temporal Isolation as far as enchantments go, so I think I just take another Errant Doomsayers. Saltfield Recluse seems fine. Urborg Siphon Mage at least is reach, so I'm gonna take Urborg Siphon Mage. I have no 1-drops, but I do have a lot of things I want to suspend on turn 1. Don't know if I'm playing it. I'm not playing any number of Sangrophages. It just seems suicidal. Like, it's high power on turn 2, but the life cost is just so high. Alright, let's look at what we're dealing with here. I think just about all of our cards, except maybe that Salt Blast, are playable. I'm going to cut Shade of Trocaire. I don't think we need 3 Errant Doomsayers. Probably just 2. Yeah, I don't think Living End is going to be good because it's going to take too much of a setup and like my opponent's going to know what's happening, I think. Saltfield Recluse just seems not great. I thought even Mind Sensor was a Rebel for some reason, like Bird Wizard Rebel. But I think I was also just getting it confused with Aven Riftwatcher because that is a Rebel. If I play Krovax, all of my black creatures just die immediately. I could probably almost go mono white. Almost. I need to cut 3 cards. I think I'm going to cut Strongholderats, Children of Corliss, because we have other like suspending stuff we want to do on turn 1. We also still have 20 creatures in the deck. It's worth noting that Tasigur is just an undercosted beater, because we will never activate his ability unless we have a Coalition Relic out on the board with him. I guess Salt Crusted Step technically could pay for Tasigur, so that's a reason to run it. Even if it is just a single colorless land most of the time. I'm going to cut 1 Errant Doomsayers. Alright, let's try this. Black-White Rebels. I'm going to go to 10 and 6, because we do have like a double black card or 2. Alright. I have no idea how this is going to go, so wish me luck. Alright. I think this is playable. Turn 1 we can suspend the Giant, which is the best possible time for us to suspend him. Opponent starts Swamp. So play Plains, suspend the Giant, pass the turn. Next turn we can play Errant Doomsayers. Opponent plays Fungal Reaches. I didn't put the Salt Crusted Step, or whatever it is, in my deck. Draw Tasigur. Play Errant Doomsayers. Opponent storage counter on Fungal Reaches. They untap. Play a Swamp. They play a Trespasser Eelvac, which is a 3-mana 3/1. They can discard a card to gain Shadow. Alright. I could kill it with Ichor Slick, but I can also just tap it with the Errant Doomsayers. So I'm going to play Urborg's Siphon Mage and pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a land, goes to combat, so we'll tap their creature. They play Thick-Skinned Goblin, which is a 2-mana 2/1 that says they don't have to pay their echo costs. Alright, we untap, Ivory Giant ticking down. We get a Blight Speaker, play a Plains. That seems dangerous, so I think I'm going to Ichor Slick this. We'll go to combat, get in for 2. When it goes to 18, pass the turn. They untap, play a Swamp, charge up Fungal Reaches, tap Trespasser. We untap, Ivory Giant coming off suspend next turn. So I could play Coalition Relic and play Blight Speaker, but I think I'm going to flash in Aven Mind Sensor just to get a bigger attack next turn. Hit my opponent for 2, take them to 16, pass the turn. It is unlikely they would search their deck for any reason, but it would be hilarious if they Terramorphic Expansed, or something like that. Opponent plays a Swamp, charges up Fungal Reaches, goes to combat, tap Trespasser. They're passing, so flash in Aven Mind Sensor. We untap, Ivory Giant coming off suspend, which will tap our Siphon Mage, but I don't want to discard anything in my hand currently. I'm just going to let that go. We draw Plains, play Plains, go to combat, hit my opponent for 5. Opponent goes to 11, and we'll go ahead and play Old Border Tasigur. Opponent is discarding Grave Scrabbler to pay its madness cost. I'm really glad I didn't attack with this Errant Doomsayers. Because if I had, they would have just blocked it. So we get a 4/5, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They go to combat, so we'll tap the Trespasser. Opponent takes off 2 red mana off of Fungal Reaches. Plays a Thick-Skinned Goblin. We got another red card they want to play. Needlepeak Spider, which is a 4/2 with Reach. Alright. Untap. We draw Judge Unworthy. So I'm going to tap the Spider. Go to combat. Yeah, we're just going to swing out. If my opponent double blocks the Ivory Giant, I can Judge Unworthy. They want to trade with the Siphon Mage. Do I care? No, I think we're fine to lose the Siphon Mage. We're not buying it back, but we also don't need to. Play Blight Speaker, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. And they play a Mountain. I suspect a lot of their hand's difficulty comes from their only red source being that storage land. They play their own Tasigur, charge up Coalition Relic. We untap, draw Temporal Isolation. None of our creatures have Shadow. So let's go ahead and add, I don't know, green mana. Green mana. Activate Tasigur. We mill 2 cards and get back the Siphon Mage. Temporal Isolation, their Tasigur, and the game is over. Alright, Tapper's OP. Tapper's also really good against my opponent's deck, so I'm going to bring in, I think, our other 2 copies of Errant Doomsayers. I'm going to drop Stronghold Rats, and maybe Judge Unworthy. We're going to try it like this. This hand doesn't do anything. This hand does, though. So I will keep this hand. I'm putting back Tasigur. Opponent leads on Swamp. We draw a Swamp. Suspend Knight of Circe. Pass the turn. I'd like to draw another 1-mana Suspend card, even if it's the Giant. Opponent plays a Rothy Trapper. Knight of Circe ticking down. I'll play an Errant Doomsayers this turn. I may end up hard casting this other Knight. Getting a Tapper on board seems pretty good. Skirk Shaman, which is a 3-mana 2/2 with Intimidate. Take 1. We untap, Knight of Circe ticking down. We draw Plains, play a Swamp. Going to Ichor Slick their Tapper. Pass. Opponent untaps, they draw a card. They play a swamp. Tap Skirk Shaman. An opponent passes their turn. Knight of Circe coming off suspend. We draw Banalish Cavalry. Play a swamp. Go to combat. Attack for 2 in the air. Hit them to 18. And we'll play Knight of Circe number 2. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a mountain. Sting Scourger. So they can unsummon a Knight of Circe. Tap Skirk Shaman. They have their own Ichor Slick. Okay. We untap, we draw plains, which is excellent. Play Knight of Circe. Next turn, if we draw any land, we can play Krovax. Opponent probably has to pay the Echo cost here. Flanking is only offensive. Yes. So, no chance on using it to block. Tap Skirk Shaman. Opponent hits us for 2, that's fine. We untap and draw Errant Doomsayers. So play Banalish Cavalry. Play another Errant Doomsayer. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent untaps. They play a land. They cycle Ichor Slick so they can get full value. They're probably going to kill our flyer. Yep. And I get to draw a card. So beginning of combat, tap Skirk Shaman. They hit us for 2. We don't block. Untap. We draw Temporal Isolation. I think we just hang on to that. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 2. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. Go to combat, so tap their guys. Pass the turn. Oh, Temporal Isolation has flash. I didn't even read that. That's insane. Jaya Ballard. She is pretty incredibly powerful. This is like the proto-planeswalker. 6 damage to each creature and player. Yeah, we're going to Temporal Isolation because it doesn't specify combat damage. It says all damage. So that's huge. Because otherwise we would be utterly screwed. We untap. We draw Urborg's Siphon Mage. Play the Siphon Mage. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 2. Okay. We hit them to 12. Pass the turn. So opponent draws a card. They brute force. They needed to do that in response. Deals 2 damage to each creature without flying. We just lost our whole board. Oh, so they get to keep Skirk Shaman. That was the point of this. Alright. That makes sense now. We finally draw plains, and we finally play Krovax. If we'd drawn that a turn earlier, that rough would have done nothing. They would have had to tumble Krovax, which we could have just gotten back. Pass the turn. Opponent's Skirk Shaman is now a 1/1. They can no longer play X1s for as long as we have Krovax. They get in for 1. We cannot block. They play Tassiger. Tassiger's a 3/4. We untap. Draw plains. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 4. They go to 8. Bounce Krovax. Replay him. And I'm going to play a plains because I don't think there's instant speed. Well, there is Piracy Charm and there might be Midnight Charm. But, okay, opponent starts charging up Fungal Reaches so that they can activate Tassiger. They hit us for 1. We go to 11. We untap. Draw plains. Go to combat. Attack them for 4. Opponent goes down to 4. Pick up Krovax. Replay him. Pass the turn. Opponent can't attack with Skirk Shaman unless they have another way to stop damage from Krovax. Okay, they activate Tassiger. You know what? You can have this empty the Warrens. They can't cast it, and even if they can, it just makes a bunch of 0/0s. Opponent attacks for 1, so they're giving up on Tassiger here. They could have a combat trick. They take us to 8, or another creature. They suspend Riftbolt. We untap, draw plains, go to combat. Well, they got a block or otherwise deal with Krovax. No reason to pay 2 life to have him untapped. Play a land, pass the turn. Okay, Riftbolt coming off suspend. They shoot us. Okay, Gorgon Recluse can kill Krovax. They attack us for 1. Well, we need something else. Otherwise, we're just going to die. Knight of Circe. Play the knight. Pass. Opponent untaps. They attack us for 1. We do not block. Go down to 3. I really hope they don't have any more burn. Am I dead? Okay, they play Needle Peak Spider. We draw Flicker Wisp, which exiles another permanent and returns it to the battlefield during the next end step. We have nothing worth flickering, but I could flicker Gorgon Recluse and force them to block. I think I'm okay with that. So play Flicker Wisp, exile here, go to combat, attack, attack. Opponent has to block Krovax, loses Needle Peak Spider. They go to 1. I guess as long as they don't have removal, we're fine. Opponent goes to combat, attacks. What are the odds that they have 1 damage versus 2? Probably high enough that I need to block this. We go to 2. Like, watch them have like a spark spray or something like that. Oh man, well we got round 1! Alright, I'll see you guys in round 2. Welcome back to round 2, and we will be on the play. So I'm going to keep this hand. Start with Suspend Knight of Circe, pass the turn. Opponent starts Forest, and a 1-drop. Search for Tomorrow. Okay. We untap, Knight of Circe taken down. Draw a swamp, play a swamp, pass the turn. Opponent, Search for Tomorrow taken down. They play a swamp. Flicker Wisp seems strong versus cards that have Echo, forcing them to have to pay the Echo cost again. I'm glad I took this card. I don't know that there's a lot of Echo cost cards. They're suspending Giant Dust Wasp. Okay. We draw a Coalition Relic. So, play a Plains. Play Stronghold Rats. We might be able to force our opponent to discard some cards. Okay. Opponent. Giant Dust Wasp taken down. Search for Tomorrow coming off Suspend. They play Sangrophage. Ooh, I don't know about Sangrophage. That seems a little bold. So cast Knight of Circe. We draw Aven Riftwatcher. Go to combat. Attack for 4, and they can't block. We'll discard a swamp here. Opponent discards a swamp. Play a swamp. Play Aven Riftwatcher. If we draw a land, we can then empty our hand and like flicker our Aven Riftwatcher to gain a bunch of life. And now my opponent has to start paying for Sangrophage if they want to keep it untapped. And we've got a kind of advanced position on board. Okay, so they tap Sangrophage, they don't want it untapped. They play a Rothy Trapper. Okay, Aven Riftwatcher ticking down. Draw planes. Go to combat. Oh, I needed to play all that out pre-combat. You know what? I'm giving up on Coalition Relic. That's a huge mistake. Oh, so bad at this game. If I'd have played, I could have just played out my whole hand and then everything would have been fine, but Kano's super good at this. Play planes. Play Flicker Wisp. And then we will flicker Aven Riftwatcher. So we gain 2 life, and then it re-enters, and we gain 2 life. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Giant Duskwasp ticking down. Sangrophage, they have to tap. They do have a Rothy Trapper to actually tap. Opponent hard casts Dread Return to get back a Dirkwood Baloth. Alright. So we untap. Aven Riftwatcher ticking down. We draw a Dune Rider Outlaw. So, oops. Play Dune Rider Outlaw. It has protection from green, so that's relevant versus our opponent. Go to combat. If they don't tap the Stronghold Rats, they will lose their last card in hand. Okay. And they care about that. So we're going to hit them for 7 in the air, taking them to 3. This is why I think Sangrophage is bad. Now, it's a reference to Carnophage, which I think was a 1-mana 2/2 that it tapped every turn unless you paid 1 life. But Carnophage actually, like, is a decent rate, if I recall. Yeah, it's a 1-mana 2/2 that taps unless you pay 1 life, which is way better than Sangrophage. I think we've got them, because they can block, they can tap. Oh, they have a kill spell, okay. That does change things a bit. So we untap. Aven Riftwatcher ticking down. We draw Celestial Crusader. Oh, that's good. So go to combat. Let's see what they tap. They gotta tap something. They tap Stronghold Rats. Yeah, they're just, I think, dead on board. I don't even have to show them Celestial Crusader. Because they can block one thing with that giant Dusk Wasp, and it has to be there. And then they take 3 and die. Unless they have a Fog. Nice! We didn't even have to show them the trick. That's excellent, actually. Stronghold Rats seems really strong against my opponent. What's happening? Why is the game lagging? Okay, there we go. So put Stronghold Rats in the deck. And I think I'm going to cut... I think Tassiger. Well, maybe not. Yeah, I'm going to cut Tassiger. No, Tassiger's really strong. What am I thinking? I think I'm going to cut Amros Seekers. Even though it has Intimidate. Okay. This seems fine-ish. Obviously, I would like to draw a 2-drop. Opponent starts Forest. They mulligan to 5. Does a Baloth suspend? Search for Tomorrow suspend. I would rather see that than Baloth, I think. Another Knight of Circe. So suspend to the Knight, pass the turn. They just F6 through their turn. They may not have a second land. We draw another Plains, play it, suspend an additional Knight of Circe, pass the turn. Next turn we can play Rift Watcher. Opponent just scoops. I think they can't beat the Flyers. Oh, man. Alright, well, I'll see you guys in round 3. Alrighty, round 3, we will be on the play. This is a little bit bad because we don't have a second black source for Dune Rider Outlaw. This is a minimum turn 3, but I think this is still enough action to warrant keeping this hand. So start by suspending Knight of Circe, pass the turn. Opponent starts Terramorphic Expanse. We untap, Knight ticking down. We draw another black source, which is excellent. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Terramorphic Expanse for a red source. They untap. They play a blue source. Is this the legendary Storm deck? Well, it looks like the blue suspend deck splashing red probably for removal, if I had to guess. Play Stronghold Rats. Pass the turn. I think that's the easier and stronger of our cards to actually get in with next turn. Opponent plays a Plains. They morph. Alright. We untap. Knight of Circe coming off suspend. We draw Banalish Cavalry. Play a Plains. Go to combat. We're doing this way because we might actually have to judge Unworthy on the morph creature, depending on if they can flip it for free and what it flips into. Okay. So we force them to discard. We discard a Plains. Momentary Blink. Well, let's hope that their face-down creature isn't like a Chroma. Oh, that would be terrible for us. Achroma, the red Achroma from Planar Chaos. That would be a nightmare. If it's a really high flip cost card, they can blink it to get the front half. Alright, opponent does nothing. We untap, we draw Plains. Play out the Plains, go to combat. I'm going to attack with everything. If they block the Dune Rider Outlaw, I'm going to Judge Unworthy. I'm going to have to discard this Judge Unworthy to Stronghold Rats if it connects anyway. So this might force them to blink prematurely before they get to kill the Dune Rider Outlaw. Hopefully it's not something that gives them more. When it's turned face up, target creature gets +2, -2, or +2, or -2, +2 until end of turn. Okay, so they're going to kill our Stronghold Rats. And then we need to find a CMC 3 or higher card to kill. We have 5. Yeah, I think I'm going to put this back, and put back Ivory Giant. I've effectively brainstorm locked myself. So in 3 turns, we'll have an Ivory Giant, and nothing until then. I really hope my opponent can't play any creatures this turn and we get a full connected. Otherwise, we won't be in real trouble. I probably should have put those lands to the bottom and just suspended the Giant, with the anticipation that the game was going to go that long. So hopefully I didn't throw this game. 4 mana. Opponent plays Primal Plasma. They can have a 3/3, a 2/2 with flying, or a 1/6 with defender, and they choose the defender. Okay, we draw the Ivory Giant, go to combat. I think because of the Ephemeron, we swing out, and because the Dune Rider Outlaw would get tapped anyway when we play the Giant. So we're going to let them kill the Dune Rider Outlaw so they take 2 extra damage this turn. The thing is, though, because it's not a suspended Ivory Giant, the Ivory Giant itself will not get to attack. Opponent gets an Errant Ephemeron, plays a land. They go to combat, they attack us for 4. We take 4 and go to 16. Then they play a Castle Raptors. A 5-mana 3/5 that gets +2 or +0/+2 as long as it's untapped. Play a Plains, pass the turn. No attacks. Come on, hit me for 7. You know you want to. Opponent goes to combat, attacks. No blocks. Take 7, go to 9. Don't play a white creature. What are you doing? Oh, are they blinking to get a creature untapped? If they do, I hope they blink Ephemeron. Okay, they play their own Knight of Circe. Play a Plains. Play Ivory Giant. Tap the Primal Plasma. Go to combat. Oh man, I can only attack here. That Knight of Circe is really good. If I attack with my Knight of Circe, they just swing 9 in the air and there's nothing I can do about it. I have dramatically miscalculated, and that was the worst Judge Unworthy I've ever cast. And yes, I've cast more than one. Alright, opponent attacks us for 9. What am I doing? That would trade, but we gotta block here. Just prevent the most damage. Take 5, go to 4. I would need like an Aven Rift Watcher, I think, to stay alive. They exiled Banalish Commander. Whenever a time counter is removed, make a soldier. We draw Celestial Crusader. Cholesterol. It has flying, but it pumps my opponent's white creatures as well. Yeah, alright. Well, I kind of threw that game. Alright, we're going to run it back and just try and have a little bit of a faster hand, hopefully with like more early suspends. Like, if we have an opener with all 3 Knights of Circe and 2 Plains, we're probably winning, because that would be insane. Actually, I'm going to bring in Stronghold Rats, and I'm actually going to take out the Tapper. A lot of my opponent's creatures have more than 2 toughness. Alright, we'll play first. We got Suspend on 1, 2-drop on 2, multiple 3-drops, depending on what land we draw for a 3rd land, so this seems good. And then we could activate Amuro Scout on 4 if we have to, or play another 3-drop. So, start by Suspending Knight. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays an island. Draw another Knight. Play a Swamp. Play the Scout. We're doing this instead of suspending another Knight because it has 2 power and can attack next turn. And we are definitely the aggro deck here. Okay. Knight of Circe ticks down to 1. 3rd land, please. That is not a 3rd land. So my best bet is suspending another Knight. Go to combat. Hit them for 2. They go to 18. This probably means they're playing a morph creature this turn, and it's probably that Primal Plasma if they do. Yep. Okay. So 1 Knight ticks down, the other one ticks down to 2. Well, it's not Primal Plasma, it's the other one. Shaper Parasite. Okay, we drew a Plains. So if this is Shaper Parasite, Flicker Wisp is awesome. If it's not Shaper Parasite and it's something bigger than Shaper Parasite, we're probably screwed. So Shaper Parasite's ability isn't when it enters the battlefield, it's when it's turned face up. Yep. Pretty sure anyway. So they do get a 2/3 out of this, but we get to hit them this turn, and they don't get to spend their turn flipping it up, having an excellent blocker, and killing a creature of ours. They get back their Shaper Parasite. They untap. Flicker Wisp, OP. Okay, so they're their 4th land. They play Primal Plasma, probably as the flyer. Yes. Okay. So we untap, Knight of Circe ticking down. We draw Ivory Giant. Do I want to trade my 3/1 for their 2/2 flyer? I don't think so. I'm just going to attack with Knight of Circe. Okay, opponent did read the fact it has flanking. Play Stronghold Rats. Pass the turn. I'm not above discarding this Ivory Giant. It would never come down if I suspended it. If I draw a land and can suspend it in addition to playing like Amuro Seekers, I probably will, and then just discard the Dune Rider Outlaw, because this card is not... This card is what I really should have taken out of my deck, not the Tapper card. Opponent Salt Blasts the Stronghold Rat, so that's very threatening to them. Okay. We untap. Knight of Circe coming off suspend. Draw Plains. Play a Plains. Go to combat. Attack here and here. I have no idea what rebels are left in our deck, but I'm going to activate Amuro Scout. Okay, they play Castle Raptors. Activate the Scout. Get an Aven Rift Watcher. Gain some life. Untap. It loses a counter. We draw Plains. Play a Plains. Yeah, we're just going to be attacking all out in the air now. The only other rebel left in our deck is Blight Speaker, so no reason to activate Amuro Scout again. Opponent trades, blocks profitably. Flanking happens, but it's not enough to prevent it from dying. So opponent takes 4, goes to 4. We play the Amuro Seekers, and I'm going to suspend the Giant for the hell of it. Okay, opponent untaps. We do have a creature with Intimidate now, so they have to choose to block that with Castle Raptors, unless they play another white creature or removal. Alright, we untap. Rift Watcher vanishing. Giant ticking down. We draw Temporal Isolation. Pretty sure that just wins. Give that Shadow. Then even if they do have removal, we have any 2 of 3 combination lethal attackers. I mean, there's a lot of random good tricks in this format, especially because of the time-shifted rarity, so, like, they could still have something to get out of this. I just can't predict what it is right now. But I think we've got them. Momentary Blink. Alright, that gets them out of Temporal Isolation. So they can block one thing. They have to have removal or a flash blocker to still survive. Crook Claw Transmuter. They can switch a creature's power and toughness until end of turn. Switch its own power and toughness. So they should probably throw the Transmuter in front of the Aven Rift Watcher. They'll take 2. We lose our Intimidate guy. We lose our other guy due to vanishing next turn. Opponent goes to 2. Alright, pass the turn. I'm glad I suspended this Ivory Giant. I may activate Amuro Scout on my upkeep just so I don't draw Blight Speaker. Opponent attacks us for 3 in the air. Okay, they hit us for 3. This tells me they have some other kind of trick as well. Well, they can actually Momentary Blink to untap their other flyer. They morph. They can Momentary Blink to untap their morph. So we lose our Rift Watcher. Gaining some life. Yeah, I think I don't want to draw Blight Speaker. It being our last rebel in the deck. Although I should have tapped, I think everything but the planes. Alright, play planes. Pass the turn. This should definitely have been the toughest tapper, not the Dune Rider Outlaw. This card is just not great versus non-green decks. I mean, as long as my opponent doesn't kill us or have a counterspell by the time we cast Ivory Giant, we may actually get in for lethal if we build up a large enough board. Okay, opponent attacks with everything except the Morph creature, telling me they're either going to blink it or flip it up. So this could be another Primal Plasma, or Shaper Parasite, I mean. No, I keep getting those 2 cards confused. Okay, we untap. Ivory Giant ticks down. We draw a Swamp. Play a Swamp, play Dune Rider Outlaw. Blight Speaker can actually kill my opponent because it has tap, target player loses a life. So I'm just going to wait and do that, I think. I completely forgot it had this first ability. Each opponent skips their next untap step? Okay, so we can't just kill them with Blight Speaker. Alright, they untap. I should have attacked then. Oh no, because they needed to... They would have had the blink, so they would have been able to kill Knight of Circe. But they can't swing all out again, not like that. 5, 8, 11, 13 exactly. So if I just block here, we're good. Unless my opponent can tap me out. Make him lose a life. We untap. Ivory Giant ticking down. Draw Coalition Relic. Go to combat. So they can blink Brine Elemental, or they can blink a flyer. But I don't think there's any that lets them survive just by blinking. They have to have something else too. Man, we could have killed them with just Blight Speaker. The opponent is blinking Castle Raptors. Okay, they got a blocker. We still have a lethal attacker though, unless they have like a Judge Unworthy. I only have 2 cards in hand. It's gotta be something good. Temporal Isolation. Yeah, they got us. Okay, we lost. But we got 2 Time Spiral packs. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this Time Spiral Remastered draft. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier. And I want you to know that you're all wonderful human beings, and thank you for the support and viewership. It means a lot to me, And I'm still having a lot of fun playing Magic, and in general, everything's just a good time. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time, I hope. Bye!